bottom line is when a lead comes in, it needs to be addressed properly. The only thing any dealer cares about is leads and sales. They don't care about the impression. The impression is just a fluff number. It was started at the back of the internet when people are able to say, you got 1.7 million impressions, and the dealer went, oh my God, I could sell those people if I just sold, 10%. Impressions don't matter.
No.
You want the clicks that turn into leads.
Welcome back into Facts Not Feelings, where we cut through the noise to bring you hard-hitting truths to propel your business forward. I'm your host, Brooke Furniss, your navigator in the ever-evolving landscape of success. Today, we are zeroing in on a topic that hits close home to every dealer out there. Mind your business, the 5 critical areas you can't afford to ignore. We're joined by the one and only, the insightful Paul Crisci, President and CEO of PGS, or Parker Group Solutions Marketing, to dissect these pivotal things. Together, we're going to uncover strategies, we're going to debunk myths, we're going to reveal actionable insights that can redefine your approach and catapult your business to new heights. Paul, welcome into the show. I'm so excited to have you on the show right now.
Oh, you flatter me. Thanks, Brooke. I appreciate it.
No other way.
Unfortunately, people watching this are going to be like, okay, this is one big love fest, and they just giggle together, so that'll be cool. But no, thank you for having me. I do appreciate it. No, listen, we've had some really good conversations, and I think that that there's a lot to be had out there. And it's, the frustrating thing is that we love this business so much. And I feel like one of those dreams where you're screaming and you can't, and no one hears you talking. And people say, why do you care? You're a marketer. Just go sell your market. I'm like, I can't, because by nature, listen, I was in the business for 21 years, general manager, finance manager. And this business did so much for me. I mean, for goodness sakes, I took care of my family, bought house, was able to buy a house and take care of myself. And I want to see it preserved. So it's exciting to talk about some of these things today. And I'm looking forward to a good sparring session with you.
We'll see. You know me well enough to know that we'll see how long the voice ends up being here before I go into Cookie Monster. So hopefully we can make it through the whole episode without turning to The Exorcist.
There you go. Yeah, Brooke had a bit of a problem speaking for a while because she lost her voice a few times, but
just a few times. I guess it was some fun. I mean, it's usually some type of conference and seeing you and having a lot of fun, and but it was definitely worth it. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, it was.
So let's jump in here. We got so many things on docket as we go through and look at these 5 things. But I want to start first with Google Analytics. Can you share why mastering this love-hate relationship at GA4 is now more crucial than ever for dealerships?
First of all, I'm going to be one of those guests that you're either going to love or hate, because I'm not going to give those technical thought process. I'm a car guy. And the question is the tail wagging the dog? Google Analytics was meant to be an indicator. And you're going to hear me use this reference a lot. It's an EKG machine. Could you imagine if you went in and you had chest pains and you go into and a bunch of surgeons, like professionals, come in and they sit with you and they hook you all up and you look and they're like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with you. You're killing it. You're doing great. You're breathing really well. And meanwhile, you can't catch your breath and you continue to have chest pains. Paralysis by analysis. We have an industry that has gotten monetized by big business. Okay. It used to be about selling cars, and forgive me for being long-winded for a moment, but this is all about dealers paying, minding their own business. And of course it's a catchphrase, but back in the day, car dealers were blue collar. They were either mechanics who got a franchise. They were first generation car salespeople. They knew their business inside and out. And I've always asked dealers when I talk to them, if tomorrow everyone quit on you, could you operate? Could you sell a car? Do you know how to turn on vAuto? Do you know how to turn on your, look at any of your stuff? Does your F&I people, if the power went out, could they write a lease agreement? Could they write a finance agreement? Do they know how to use a calculator? We've gotten so far removed from the basics of the business that now we find ourselves where a lot of dealers, and some of this, and forgive me, this is a terrible thing I'm saying, we got too profitable. I'm a capitalist at heart. But because there was so much money made, we kind of got soft. We're not fighting anymore. So what do? We yell at the advertising. We yell at the managers, the salespeople, the BDC, and everybody. At the fact of the matter is, we just don't know. We just know we have to yell because we're not getting the result. And then we let products come in, all these big businesses that realized the auto industry had money. So they all came in and they bought, I won't mention names, but we all know who they are. When you go to NADA and they have a football field worth of a village, we know that they're there for a reason. They're doing nothing wrong. They're selling. It's up to you whether you want to buy. But now what's happening is those people come in and they have maybe one or two products, and they're going to show you Google Analytics and tell you how great you're doing. And we've beaten to death the "you're killing it" mode. But you did. You had reps that come and say, "You're doing a great job. Oh my God, thank God you have this." And you still selling the same amount of cars, or you're still getting the same result. So the question that every dealer should be saying when they look at Google Analytics is, okay, now what? Now what? Great, I got all this information, this wealth of information. I'm looking at all these numbers and conversions. Well, what am I conversion from? From an impression to a click to a lead to a sale. Oh my God. And wait, no, look over here. And we all know there's a lot of players out there, friends of ours, that sometimes make this monster bigger than it is because it's so mysterious. We are now in the category of stockbrokers and lawyers because they make us feel so stupid as car people that we think that we need them because we could never operate without them. Simple thing is, whether it's Universal, Google Analytics, the old version, or GA4, which is having many, many, many problems right now. Everybody thinks Google, it's Google. Well, Google has its problems too.
Yes.
This is an indicator. This is something that should be telling you if your marketing plan and your processes are working properly, not telling you how to create a process and a product and what products to buy. So I think you got to start with the basics as a dealer and know the simple things. How long is somebody on my site for? Is it too long? Is it too short? How many pages are they going to? Is my marketing people driving people directly to a VDP page, which is why I have a higher bounce rate? Or are they taking them to the home page and making people search? Simple, basic questions that a dealer could hold every one of these vendors and products accountable. But they got to understand what Google Analytics is, whether the old version, which is not available anymore, obviously, or this new version. But if you don't know, then you're just as helpless as the finance person that can't figure out how to write a lease agreement because the power went out. My computer doesn't work. I don't have a printer. So that was long-winded, I know, but you want to be able to use GA4 to hold your vendors and your products accountable.
Oh, I listen to you say all this. I'm like, we can just wrap the show right there. Like that right there is so much. I'm hoping that everyone just go back and listen to that, go back and watch it. Because that was so much that you just said right there. And I remember I was at a Marriott and I'm at the Starbucks at Marriott and I guess their register went down. And so I just go, well, I can just pay for it. Just tell me what I owe. And the gal could not figure out how much I owed. She couldn't figure out. She's like, I'll just have it for free. There was a line of like 10 people, Paul. Every single person got something free because they couldn't figure out how to use pen and paper and a calculator to discover, hey, this is how much the person owes. Just charge it to my room. Like I'm staying here, charge it to my room when you guys get, when this thing couldn't figure it out. But so much of that, like even from the GA4 thing, which is leads us all to drinking. Let's be honest. Like it's great when it works. When it doesn't work, it's just like F-bombs get thrown around. That being said, is to understand as well is that I've talked to so many people about this, understand it's Google is a barometer. It is not the end all be all. If you're trying to measure TikTok, your Amazon ads, your Facebook, all that, you're not going to get the whole picture. So also understand where it plays its part and where you're going to need to get the other informations. But when you look at all these, it should be a drinking game at this point, but the proprietary dashboards out there or all these other website dashboards, well, that's great. They have it. And you're more than welcome to go look at those, understand they're never going to match up because it's not the same thing. So is it going the same trajectory? Do you even know how to look at that? How do you know if this is working? And one of the whole reasons that I started my company was I got so tired of being in a dealership of being told every single month, oh, you're up 10%, Brooke. Oh shit, no, we're not. No, we actually sold less cars and I can see what's being done. And my account is set up correctly to understand this. But when people keep saying over and over, oh, you're up. How do you actually inspect it if you don't know how to get into those? And I'm not saying you need to be a master in GA4 because there's very few people that can really master GA4 because it's changing so quickly. But understand the basics to say, this is working. The engagement sucks here. Why do we continue to pump in thousands of dollars to this, whatever it is, this business, a service, the lead provider, when it's honestly just shit traffic. Like that's what it's just horrible traffic. So.
Well, and just to realize is like lots of times you look and we won't pick on any names, but there's the third party directories. Okay. And, a dealer principal or general manager should be able to sit there when they come in to tell them for their meeting and say, okay, before we get started, and you tell me how great you are, I only had X amount of visits to my website. By the way, when I click on to see where those people came from, because there are products that can allow you to see where they came from, those people came from out of state. So that's a problem. Okay. I'm not selling cars in Texas when I'm in New York. Maybe I do, but and the question is how much am I spending on these directories to get to a number and of anemic 2, 3, 4, 5 cars, and then the lead providers, the duplicate leads. So again, to your point, those things all have to be held accountable, but we have to use Google Analytics to our advantage. A lot of these CRMs, they're like your brain. You use 10% of them. I sit there with sometimes clients, and they're like, oh, that's not how many leads I got. Yes, it is. You got to drop down this menu. There's a sub menu. Show your ROI report because that's going to show you all your leads. Those leads are not right. Well, that's because garbage in, garbage out. You categorize them wrong. This is knowing your business. And it's an ongoing, living, breathing process that you got to build. So,
and you look at the CRM, and that's something we were talking about offline as well, is just that CRM. It's you've got the brain and then you've got the heart, however you want to phrase it, of the DMS. And rarely are those things clean. And that's a whole other show in itself. That being said, to really understand that, yes, another show in itself. But looking to say, okay, so I haven't grouped these leads. So I've got 300 leads last month that I don't know what the hell they are. I don't know if they are third party. I don't know if they're OEM. Heck, it could be a Carfax or, chat provider. We don't know what it is because we haven't categorized. And yet you're trying to make a business decision off of that to say, oh, we should cancel that and put more in. You don't even know what's coming in. That's only the last point of contact. So I always use the example of me and my shoes. So I'm going to look at 300 videos. I'm going to look on Instagram. I'm going to look at blogs. But where do I actually buy it? It's not any of those 300 points of contact that I interacted on social media. It's on the Nike app. It's on wherever I'm actually going to buy the shoe. But rarely do I buy it the same place that I've been looking at for months up into the anticipated launch date where I hope to God that I can beat out a bot, which is not going to happen, but I'm hoping I can. But yet, if we looked and said the last point of contact was Nike app, well, yeah, no kidding. Like, of course it is. What about the other 300 points of contact? And are you looking at that?
Well, and I've told people there was one time that I woke up in the morning, I looked at my phone, I checked the weather, I rolled and I saw a product that I was interested in. Won't go into the details of what it is. But anyway, I was looking at a product. I saw it. I went, that's cool. I leave Facebook and I go to their website. I check their website. I go, wow, they've got multiple versions of this product. Cool. I then went to Amazon and I bought 3 of them. Who gets credit?
Amazon.
And that's why so many dealers need to understand you are not buying products. There's never been a silver bullet in all the years you've owned your dealership. You need to build a marketing plan and hold the marketing plan accountable. It's got to be awareness campaign, call to action, social media, digital marketing, and they all have to have their own silos. And stop with this traditional versus digital. There is none. It's advertising.
It's advertising.
Okay, I got it. In 2008, when we hit the housing crisis and everybody had to go blow up the world of newspaper ads that were $10,000 in New York or $5,000. And we said, ooh, transparency and cheaper. Yeah, how long did that last for? Okay, and as soon as they got their claws in, now people, and we've spoken about this, are spending $20,000, $30,000 on Google. Do you even know how to look at your AdWords and see if you're buying them right? And it's a strategy. Maybe you want to do it this way. Maybe you have to buy your name because you're more of a geo, like you're a name of a town, and you have to buy because the other dealers can't omit your name because it's not Sullivan, Chevy or whatever. It's the name. But you got to know what you're looking at because people will tell you, oh, you've got wasteful clicks. You've got this, you've got that. What's your plan? What's your plan? And are you using the tools to validate your plan? What if things are not hooked up right in GA4?
We were talking about it offline. I'm dealing with a couple different clients right now, and we're going through it, and it's a hot mess, which majority, when I first come on board, they are going to be a hot mess, which that's also why I have a job, and I'm very grateful for that. That being said, is to know someone may be telling they're doing all this great things, but let's just go with something simple. If they don't have the metapixel on their website, how the hell are you retargeting? Or if you have 11 pixels on your website, once again, reporting is not going to be accurate. Then you get into the GA4 portion of it to say, hey, do I have with GA4? You've got to have the custom. If those custom definitions are not set up correctly, your reporting's useless. Like, let's just call it like it is. It's useless. You've got to have those set up and set up correctly. Do I have, the ASC events come in? Do we have all these different things? And or are people just naming stuff and making up their own stuff to make themselves look really, really good and tell you you're up? You're up. Well, that's funny. February's the slowest month ever, and yet I'm up somehow. That's interesting because we're not moving cars over here.
The only way you're up is on your bottom line. Did I sell cars and am I in the black? Because if you're losing money and you're not selling cars now, and you and I, again, we're going to keep talking about, you and I have a lot of conversations. It's a 90-day buying process. Like, I'm sitting there talking to dealers off the ledge in January and February going, look at your Google Analytics. You had more visitors to your website than you have in the last 13 months. Okay, so let's stop for a minute. Why are people shopping? One, interest rates are high. They're waiting for interest rates to come down. Now, we're reading tea leaves here, but this is just common sense.
Yeah.
They're saying, so the smart people, the people that are conscious about their dollars, not the reactive people, not that they're stupid, but just that they're not, they may not think through. The reactive people are usually the people that also have credit issues, that may not be able to afford the car. So you're turning around saying, all these customers are coming in, they're not buying. I actually had a client that said to me, Paul, I had 7 appointments the other day. You know how many showed? I said, I don't know. He goes, 1. I said, and how is this my problem? He's like, you are advertising to the wrong people. I said, oh my God. So you're telling me that I advertised, people now found you. They made an appointment with you. It was not a bot. It wasn't a bad lead. They spoke to you and they didn't show up. Could you have said something wrong? Could you not have the product? Could you not have given them enough information? There's a lot more psychiatry going on out there. Listen, I've been there. I know how helpless it feels when, especially coming off this 3-year sugar high, that it's shooting fish in a barrel, and all of a sudden now you ran out of fish, you ran out of dynamite, and now what do? I need fish. You're going to sell more cars, but now you have to go back and remember what it was like pre-COVID, because if anybody remembers, and go look through your magazines and go through all your Automotive News. Yep. And Automotive News in, I think it was 2019, said that more than 50% of the dealerships in the country had shown a loss when it came to profit on their new cars. Okay. And then immediately following, dealers were an average of 8. So they went from 500 below invoice to an average of $865 above invoice, like that. But remember, we can't sell a car. We've got to start an invoice. Oh my God, we got to start an invoice. No, you believe your own lies. Okay. Yep. You don't give yourself enough credit for being salespeople and having the ability to convey enough information to convince somebody why they should be spending money on your car and why you should make a profit and why. So, wow. I mean, this is question number 1. I think we're going to have to do this as a series. We may have to do this in like 5.
I am all for a series. A series with you. Are you kidding me right now? Ooh, I can't wait.
Lord. I know. Meanwhile, Brooke's going, oh my God, what did he drink today? This is my coffee.
Oh, would you share, please? Seriously.
Okay, so moving forward.
Okay, so let's transition here. So we've talked a lot about the reporting, being able to expect what you expect out of your business and whether it's a vendor or a partner, there really is a difference. But on both sides, there is a difference.
Right.
But let's go into like optimizing the customer experience, and that is another word that gets thrown around so much, and it bugs me. It is important, but also understand: are you saying it kind of like culture? Like, we're just going to throw it around, but not really know what it means. But looking at that to ensure that when we look at our customer experience, and is it engaging? Is it personalized? Is it as personalized as possible? So talk a little bit about that.
So I'm going to go back to, okay, now what again? Okay. So here's the problem. You have an industry that has, again, over the last 10, 15 years, one website provider after another. Dealer.com was kind of one of the first ones on the scene. And then you got Dealer Inspire, and it just keep coming and coming and coming. And now you got all these web providers, as though one of them is going to do a better job than the other. The only reason why some of them fail, and we don't have to say which ones fail, is because they've actually outgrown themselves to the point that they can't service the customer properly because they either are a shell that's not being able to manipulate it properly or whatever it is, which there's some out there that, if they're WordPress sites and you have somebody good that can go and do your website for you, that's great. You want to have control over that. But I just have to ask everybody one simple question. We all use Amazon. When was the last time you got on Amazon and went, "Ooh, this is different. Where do I go from here?" Again, the industry is being overloaded with self-anointed professionals who are going to tell you, no, the new green is now orange and it should be on the right side of the page. Because if we put this button here and we move it to the right side of the page and we make it orange, we've learned that through our focus groups that people like orange and they'll click on it more. And then that all changes next year when now maybe a company like J.D. Powers gets hired to be a consultant. Now they come in with their opinion of what it is. And nothing against J.D. Powers. Again, Shift Digital, all you guys are doing your job. But you're coming in with your strategy. And nothing is proven fact. Amazon and eBay have not changed their look, their feel, their ability to click through. You go, you click, you find your product. And we're not trying to think about what the customer wants. They don't want to spend time on your site. I want to click on, do you have the car? What's the price of the car? How do I buy the car? Period, end of story. They don't, especially after COVID, they were jumping from store to store to store looking they know how to use your website better than you do. So I think the customer experience is stop trying to think for the customer and just give them what they want, the car. You can have a few buttons, click for test drive, click for price. I'm not a fan of the gateways. I think that at this point, you're asking people, you're trying to trick them. And by the way, there's a new federal trade law coming down the pike. If you don't know it, you can't have a gateway anymore. You have to have full disclosure. So I think you just have to learn from the people that have been most successful. Amazon, put your product out there, click on it, give them an answer. They're going to pick. So.
Yes, I actually did this is, God, I don't know how many years ago, probably like 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, did an entire presentation on call to action buttons and like on your website, because that was, the orange was like taken off. And I go, there is all of this research is not true research, because if your website, the background's orange isn't going to work. It's going to be, do some A/B testing, figure out what is going to stand out. And then, the joys of having 15 call to actions. The customer doesn't know where the hell to click. They're having button fatigue. It's button overload. Like, keep it simple, stupid. It's really that simple. Like, put on 2 CTAs, then they know what to go. Like, and make sure it's not get a price and start your digital. They're the same freaking thing. Like, and if you can't get away from forms, that's a whole other situation. But like, those little things make such a difference. And too often is the person who either made the website or the people are looking at it, they don't see anything wrong with it. It's not that anything's wrong, but you need someone to be like, your baby's ugly. Here's how you can make your baby not ugly. And here's ways to improve. Have your receptionist look at it. Have your spouse, your neighbor, all these different people. Because like, to your point, the customer knows your website better than you do. And if it takes so long for it to load, or if it takes so long, and I'll say that I'm going to sell, because there's OEM products that have to go on the site, but if it's taking like 2 minutes to load, yeah, you're going to lose the customer. Or if everything has a pop-up coming, I mean, just go through your website and really think from a consumer standpoint, is this the easiest it can be? Because just like you said, Amazon, I know exactly what I want. Or if I don't, something's getting served up to me and I'm getting an email or some targeted ad later on. And I'm like, yeah, I want to go buy that, but I don't want to spend time on the site. I just want to get my thing and be done with it. Yeah.
If right now, here's some free advice. Okay. Very simple for any dealer. Go sign up for Hotjar. Go put on Hotjar. Hotjar is a product that will let you see the actual recording. You'll see the mouse on the screen, and it will record the people that have come to your site, and just look at where they're going. Forget about heat maps. Heat maps can be deceiving. See where they're going, because you will be shocked to know how many people don't click on your slides. The dozen slides.
1%. Yes.
0.1%. So slides don't matter. Now the OEM tells you that you have to put your slides. Great. Bury it at the bottom, because nobody cares about your slides. You know what they care about? Make, model, all the little drop downs, so they can get to the car as fast as possible. That's why, and everybody forgets a while ago where the consultants were coming to say, deep search. Take a dynamic ad, drive them right to the VDP page, get them to the car they want. I was doing a seminar once. I was doing a workshop. I think it was at Digital Dealer, one of these places. And I had sat in on Facebook, and Facebook was doing a whole, it was somebody that was a representative that really into Facebook, and he was sitting there. And some girl raised her hand and she says, I have a 90% bounce rate. Is that bad? And they really never got to the answer. So when they came in, the next workshop was mine, and I was in another room, and I saw the girl walk in. So of course, as I was engaging with everybody, I said, by the way, I said, if I told you you had 100% bounce rate, would that be bad? And everybody's nodding their head. I said, really? I said, all right, well, let me rephrase the question. If I had 100 people come to your website and they all went to exactly where they wanted, and then they bought a car, they only went to one page, so they bounced out, but everyone bought a car, is 100% bounce rate bad? Mm-hmm. And there was just this look of just like, I know I'm supposed to say it's bad, but you asked, like you said something crazy now. Well, can that happen? Sure it can. Yeah. Is it exaggerated? Of course it is. But if you're bringing people to where they want to be, why do you have to complicate things? The bounce rate, again, just like I said, an EKG machine, just because it says you have high blood pressure doesn't mean you weren't just working out, or a high heart rate. Let's call it a high heart rate. Doesn't mean that you're having a heart attack. It means you just worked out and you're healthy as a horse and you just raised your heart rate. Don't assume that right away something is bad until you actually dig a little deeper and find out what the results are. So.
Agreed. That I hear bounce rate and I still cringe because I'm like, that can be manipulated in so many different ways. And to your point, if they did exactly what they need to do, like, hey, we're just going here to schedule an appointment and bounce off, it's going to look horrible. But the campaign that was presented and created worked exactly like you wanted it to. Mm-hmm. That's also, you don't see bounce rate anymore on GA4. You're going to look at engagement, but it's little things like that just like, no, like, and also the flip side, if someone's telling you your bounce rate is 10% and you think that's great, no, it's not great. That's being manipulated. Mm-hmm. And that's. Yeah, I bounce rate. You get me talking about. I get a little worked up.
Yeah, well, again, we'd have to get into the conversation of why GA4 happened in the first place. So that's another story.
That's also another episode. All right, so let's talk about people, process, product. Like that's something that I'm really obviously huge on this one. Always am saying, hey, not only people, process, product, but you've got to work backwards to work forward to distinguish, hey, is this product enhancing our people? Is it enhancing our product? So how should dealers ensure they are doing just that?
Well, again, I'm going to beat this to death. Are you minding your own business? Are you looking at, first of all, and you said it perfect, Brooke. Too many people are buying products because they go to NADA, they go to Digital Dealer, they go to one of these, and they get sold 20 groups, and they oh my God, this is the thing. There's never going to be. Okay, your mechanics, just go as far as your service department and go look at the mechanic who's got the cleanest tools. He probably isn't using any of them. And ask yourself, they're not going to fix, the car's not going to fix itself. It's got to be using those tools in order to do it. Just because we have new technology doesn't mean it still needs the mechanic to make it work. Well, the same rule applies. I'm telling you, I have clients that literally had two click to buys, purchasing tools, and didn't even know they had them. They had two different companies on there. So sometimes they're buying these extra products that are overlapping each other. Buy products that back into your strategy, to your process. Figure out what your process is first. Make sure your people can do it. I'm a big sports guy. When you talk about sports analogies, you ask yourself, okay, I just drafted a quarterback who can't run for his life. Why am I going to put together an offensive plan that makes him run? It doesn't work. What are the abilities of my manager? First, do I have the right people? Do I have the right process? And then go buy your products accordingly. Don't buy your products and then tell your people, here, use them. Figure it out. I mean, how many times do you change your DMS system? I mean, there's a company out there, real sexy. They got pretty logos and funky. They look great at NADA, but there's a lot of questions on, how, but I don't blame the company. They're putting out their product. Did you do your due diligence? And are you signing into a 10-year plan that you can't get out of?
You can't get out of.
It's important. Yeah, it's important to know you buy your products and you don't need that many products. You need a handful. Your playbook doesn't have to be this big. It just needs to have enough to be able to do the job.
Amen. So we're talking about, the process people. And then I want to shift over here to BDC a little bit. And this is something we were going through this beforehand. You were like talking like, how crucial leads are and how we should lead them, not let them stop and shop. And I love that phrase in there. So what insights can you share on transforming lead management and conversion rates?
First, wow, I'm going to go really, this one's going to be a big one. Blow up your
Strap in,
BDC.
ladies and gentlemen. Grab a Snickers. Might be a while.
Just blow up your BDC. And I might be jumping ahead here, but I would, if I bought a store today, I would tear down my BDC department. I would tear down my sales department. And, you know, what's old is what new. We've forgotten what we do for a living. We sell cars. Nobody woke up one day and said, you know, I think I'm going to get in the car business to be a data scientist or, you know, to learn how to use all these digital products. You got in the business because you like selling stuff. And the product, again, is supposed to work for you. So before we get into lead management and conversions, you're putting the carriage before the horse. You need the right people in place. You need the right processes. Again, we're going right back to the same thing again. But if it were me, I grew up in this business in the late 80s, early 90s, and the salespeople were the BDC. Mm-hmm. The managers were the business development center managers. If it were me, I would hire telecommunicators, first of all. Someone that knows how to write an email or a text message that the person on the other end knows they're smiling. You know, they would say text messages and emails take a life of their own. So in order to get a conversion on something, you need people to engage with you. So if you didn't get them to engage, first of all, like people look at closing percentages. What's my closing percentage? I want 20% of my leads. Well, 4% nationally is going to close on its own. Whether you are the worst dealership in the world with the worst salespeople, 4% are still going to buy from you just because you're there. So we have to look at what's after that and how we can get it. But if you can communicate with your customers properly, if you can get them to convert into a lead, then you can have a better idea of what your lead management is. The other thing is being able to be honest with yourself. Garbage in, garbage out. When you're going into your CRMs and you're looking at, we've all heard it because it's become a running joke, too weak to ask. It's the number one in their CRM as far as sales and closing percentages, or drive-by. And I've got somebody, you know, or walk-ins. Listen, I get it. Sometimes you're not going to get it, but could you, if you're a salesman, hey, how did you hear about us? Oh, I was on the internet. Oh, really? Any particular sites that you were on? Get some information. Try and find something. And then the CRMs do match up. So again, I hope I didn't kind of go down too far down a rabbit hole, but transforming leads and conversion rates, it doesn't matter until we get the right information in there. The bottom line is when a lead comes in, it needs to be addressed properly. The only thing any dealer cares about is leads and sales. They don't care about the impression. The impression is just a fluff number. It was started at the back of the internet when people are able to say, you got 1.7 million impressions, and the dealer went, oh my God, I could sell those people if I just sold, 10%. Impressions don't matter.
No.
You want the clicks that turn into leads. And if you don't, now let's go back to what's wrong. Are my prices too high on my website? Is there not enough information to make a decision? Does the factory not give me the cars that I have? I mean, in the case of Chrysler store, Stellantis, the average car is $50,000, and they don't know why they're not closing deals. Not closing deals because you're not the option right now in a world with 9% interest rates to that are on a car loan. There I go. I rambled again. Wow, she's like, well, he's never coming back again.
There's the hook. Take him off stage. That series not just turned into a 10-point series. We're good to go.
Exactly. Shut him up.
But like last month, I was talking to some colleagues, and we're just saying how Stellantis was down, Nissan was down, like a lot of other OEMs were up. I'm like, but if you're one of these two, and people are telling you you're up, you better do your homework to understand, are you really up? And to the BDC portion, whether it's whatever y'all want to do is your thing. To your point as well, is that there weren't BDCs back in the day, and I'm not knocking BDCs. It's just you've got to inspect what you want to expect out of them. If you're, just understand your process before you make a decision on any of this. Like there's so much that goes into it. Is it just become this drama-filled department that's siloed that no one cares about? We're just going to kick them around. They don't have any leader. They're not leadership. They don't have any abilities to do anything in the sense of you can't sell the car. You can't quote price. You got to come to us for everything. Well, then why are you making them run back and forth all the time? If that's the case, just turn it over to a salesperson and then hold the salespeople accountable.
Right. So he just, every dealer has to ask themselves. And the problem is the generations have changed. Remember, we went back to
Yeah.
those mechanics that worked hard, and now you have a different brand of dealer principal. But if they went back in the archives and they looked, you ask yourself, would your receptionist have been the person handling your leads? And the answer is no. The
Yeah.
receptionist got the lead to who? A salesperson. We used to turn around and say, sales call on line 4, and then everybody would race to the phone back in the day when everybody was hungry and aggressive, and they would try and say, oh, I got to get that up. That's a sale. The bottom line is that when I say burn down a BDC, instead of a BDC manager, you have a virtual sales manager, someone whose job, one's watching the general sales manager, watching the brick and mortar, the sales manager's watching the virtual. He turns around and he's responsible for training the salespeople, who we all agree work maybe 2 to 3 hours a day in an 8-hour day, and let them be part of the process. Train them how to communicate, train them how to get the customer to the door, hold them accountable to lead. Stop paying people for appointments. The pay plan is antiquated. It's getting manipulated.
It really
pay them
is.
the same way you pay your sales manager and your salespeople on the sale. Simple. Get them in the door. I am not paying you to get somebody in the door. I'm paying you to get somebody in the door and buy a car. But I think that there's got to be this revamp where it's over, it's done with. We understand that the digital world's changed, but what's the difference between your telephone, your email, your chat? It's all different versions of communication. And I think what happens is dealers will save tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars by investing in a good manager who knows how to train, who knows how to run a CRM, who knows how to look at the leads coming in and how to hold the salespeople accountable. And then the general manager holds the sales manager accountable.
Amen. Amen. So you touched on training, which then brings me into the next. I'm like, oh, it's a perfect segue here. Is that because it's changing so rapidly, whether our industry, whether it's all these different things are being thrown at dealers in general. But how can dealers ensure their teams remain competitive and adapt to the changes?
Good question.
I try.
Go to an Apple store. Go to an Apple store. And it sounds so easy, but can I ask you something? Why is it that Apple has all the attentive people with an iPad waiting for you? And what I ask a question, they've got a genius that comes over and talks to me at the Genius Bar, and then from there I buy something. Then they want to know if I have a business account. Somebody comes out of the back room with the product. Oh, wait a minute, do you need a bag? Someone comes running out with a bag. How do they get all the good employees that we claim in the car business we can't get? Because the car business isn't cool. The car business is stressful, and we've made it stressful. You've got dealers are going to have to start, adapt or die. Are you having flex hours for your people? Are you putting them into the same? Are we still trying to work bell to bell and the full court press at the last day of the month? The customers don't work on a full court press anymore. They come in when they want to. Saturdays are not Saturdays anymore. You're not doing a 15-car, 20-car Saturday in your average store. You're doing that on Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday because people are taking their weekends to have time with their families and do things. Why does Apple have cool people working there, young people working there, knowledgeable people working there? We're doing something wrong, and that requires the dealer, again, to get involved with his business and ask himself, how do I attract people to come to work for me? There's nobody making 6 figures at an Apple store, but yet they love to work there. Why are they not loving to work at a car dealer where there's cool stuff? We got technology, we got stuff, because we're not attracting them. We're not cool.
And even with that, one thing that when the Apple example gets brought up, always not only they have an iPad, they have a cash register in their pocket anytime. So I'm not being passed around like, well, you know what? Let me go check with Bob over in the tower. Let me go check over so. Oh, then I'm gonna move into the box here for a little stuff. No, they're able, whatever needs to be done. Their employees are empowered to do whatever they need to, whatever it may be. And it doesn't matter as, hey, I don't have the answer. Let me grab Paul over here. Paul's going to help you with this portion of it. But that is just always stuck out to me. I'm like, it's not just it's Apple, it's cool, it's the iPhone, blah, blah, blah. I mean, hell, I went in to get something fixed. I was like, I decided I need a Mac. I didn't need a Mac, but I was so impressed what was going on there. I was like, I should buy a new Mac after this. I transferred everything. I went from Android. I have a Mac, but I had a Samsung, and I've had a Samsung for, I can tell you the last iPhone I had was an iPhone 4 when Steve Jobs was still alive. So that's how long it's been since I've had an iPhone. Now I've got the Apple Watch, I've got the iPad, I've got the iPhone.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm full ecosystem, everything Apple. And it's just you can't beat the customer service. If we really stop to dissect that and say, Well, why is that? And can we do it in our industry? Yeah, we can. Are you going to do it in your industry is the question.
Well, it requires training. It requires having a cool person to have your Saturday morning meetings, the rah-rah sessions. Go into a mall. I know that, those are unheard of these days.
They still
Go
exist,
into
I
a
hear.
mall, stand outside an Apple store before they open, and you'll see the team with they're wearing, okay, today's red shirt day, and we've got a red shirt, and then next week will be black shirts and blue shirts. They're all there. They're uniformed. You got somebody, they're clapping in the meetings. They're having a good time. That used to happen in the car business. We used to have Saturdays where there were contests, where they were handing out cash. Again, what the hell's that? They were doing things to make it exciting. There's two reasons for failure: complacency or capacity. The car business got complacent, and it goes back to what I said. I'm a capitalist. I believe in making money, but sometimes money can make you weak and soft. And the problem is that we've lost track of what makes our business grow, the attention to detail. And if you care about your business, if you love your business, if you want to keep the legacy of your dealership, then you need to be aware that the business is changing. And instead of complaining about it, instead of yelling at the rain, instead of screaming, these electric cars are stupid. Okay, they're stupid. Let life figure that out. The customer will tell you how stupid they are. They're not buying them right now. Okay, then they're stupid. If they are buying them, sell them. It's like turning around and being in an Apple store and going, oh, this new version of Apple, I'm not selling this. This is stupid. Really? Okay, well, that's going to get you far. Anyway, so.
No, man, I agree, man. I mean, as I say that, my Mac, which I do need to upgrade, is still back on the Intel processor. Like, looking back, that was not probably a great move on their part because it's so loud. It gets so hot all the time, but no one complained about it. Like, we're like, hey, it's an Apple product. You know that they're going to stand behind their product and they're going to do awesome at whatever they do. And I don't ever have to worry about that. Like, they're just going to take care of you. So I want to talk about a word that you threw out earlier, before we went live here, was about fantasy advertising. I was like, oh, I like that, the concept of this fantasy advertising. So describe to our listeners what this is and how to avoid this.
Well, listen, I mean, and again, dealers are their own worst enemies sometimes. We all agree that there's no one product out there. So if anybody's ever played fantasy football, I mean, that's what is it, $1 billion industry now? My God, I mean, I think we have legalized gambling in most states now because of fantasy football, fantasy sports. Yeah. But what you have is a lot of, again, God forbid things slow down one day. You have dealers, general managers, all they're taking phone call after phone call. They're reading email after email, and they're going, oh, if I got this product, and they're putting it there, and they don't have a plan to hold themselves accountable. And then all of a sudden their budget's out of control, and they scream, cut the budget. So fantasy advertising is just buying everything that you're sold and just putting it in there and being like, now because of me, I'm the general manager, I'm the mad scientist, I put everything in place, now we're going to win. Instead of having patience. Like, don't panic every time you don't sell a car for a day or a week. You have to ask yourself, first and foremost, you want to be a first-party lead. Those are leads that didn't get there by false pretense. They got there, they knew who you are. They went on your website, and they made a conscious decision to either call you or submit a lead. You keep buying these products that are promising you the world, and again, no offense to these directory vendors, we'll call them, but I got clients that are spending $9,000. And I said, okay, let's tear apart your CRM. Let's find any evidence that you sold a car from there. And it's like onesies, twosies, 5 and 7. I don't hate these vendors. I just hate the fact that we actually believe that if we spend $7,000, that's going to change the game. When your whole budget for the month is $40,000, or let's call it $30,000, and now 25% of your budget goes to the directories because you have to have all 3 or 4 of them. Stop playing fantasy advertising. Look at your analytics, learn your analytics, know what you're looking at, and ask yourself if your marketing plan is working. Everything in 90-day increments. Suck it up. I don't care if the bottom falls out. Coke and Pepsi do not tear down their entire marketing plan because soda was down in the month of February because it's cold out and people are thinking more about hot chocolate than they are a cold Coke. It's a 12-month plan. It's a 12-inning game. Tell me that you had a bad year. Don't tell me you had a bad week or a bad month, because those are going to happen, especially in times like these now.
Amen. And that's like, as you talk about the directories out there, that's one thing as well. It's like, oh, did it sell a car? Well, yes, it did. But if you're looking only in the CRM for that data, you're sorely missing a much larger picture to understand, is it driving traffic to our website? And then from the website, are they interacting with the chat? Are they doing something on our website that would then lead to a buying a vehicle? And before you go and bash anybody, I don't care who it is, really understand the holistic view of it to understand, did it drive traffic of some sort? And then from there, I'm just going to call like it is maybe your process just sucks. Like maybe everything you look at, the ad copy is right. It's advertised correctly. The price is there. The photos, you got walk around videos, you got rainbows and butterflies on the site. But for whatever reason, it comes to the site and it's dying. Well, don't go and yell at your advertising agency or yell at whatever vendor it is that's doing this, because they did their job. You sucked it up in house. So really having the mindset to say, man, maybe I did something wrong here. Maybe it's on us, but you've got to be able to look at that holistically to be able to see that.
Well, I would tell you this, and again, some free advice. Treat your business. God knows now dealers they're making some big boy money, big girl money. Treat it like a real business. Sit down in November, evaluate your year. Put together a projection for what the following year brings. So 2024, how many cars do I want to sell? We think we're going to be up 3%. Good. Act accordingly. So you're going to be up 3%. Now, what do we need to spend to get that 3%? And where should we spend it wisely? Again, first and foremost, be a first-party lead. Anything else is an enhancement, because we know third-party leads in all cases are usually going to close, if you're good at what you do, 7%. You want to close at the 20, 25%, which usually should be the first party lead. Again, not having inventory, certain things could affect those things. But at the end of the day, have your plan, have your budget, diversify, divide it over 12 months. And then it's a living, breathing. Listen, if all of a sudden the bottom falls out like 2008, it happened in October. You may have to say time out, but you don't want to be reactive. You want to be able to know what you're doing and stay the course and allow the year to play itself out, because you may be changing things and stunting your growth early in the process of the year, because all of a sudden, if you just stayed the course, you would have been up your 3, maybe 5%, but now you're down 2% because you kept changing and changing and changing. So you got to have a plan and you got to stick with it.
And to your point that you made earlier before we hit record here, we're talking about sports because you and I talk sports and that's what we do. But either it's, Bill Belichick, or everyone's seen the meme that's, I think it's Michael Phelps and he's swimming. And then the other competitor next to him is like looking back, and it's like, stop looking back at your competition. Be focused on what you're doing and know this is where we're going, and don't waver from that.
Yeah. And that's when we talk about Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick, the reason why he won for so long is because he never worried about what the other team was doing. And just all you need to be as a Seattle Seahawks fan or an Atlanta Falcon fan to know they were overthinking. He got inside Atlanta Falcons, 28 points, and he got inside their head and they were trying to outsmart him. And the Seahawks, all you need to know is they were 3 feet.
Marshawn Lynch, run the damn ball.
Run the ball. I'm sorry. Don't tell me it was fixed. Pete Carroll got played. He got played because he got inside his head. Are you really going to worry about with all the I'm telling you, I sit there every month. And the first question, well, let's look at how everybody did in the rankings. Oh, my God, I got beat by so-and-so. Stop. But I used to work there, and you don't anymore. So don't worry about what they do. Did you make money? Please just tell me, are we paying the bills? Then we can worry about everything else. Because if we're not paying the bills, my bill's probably not getting paid, and that's not the case.
Then we have a problem. Okay, now we'll ring the alarms.
Yeah, exactly. It's be cool, people, man. You own a business. You're gonna have to take some blows, but stop panicking over everything, firing people, changing processes. It's just too much. Act like you've been there before. This is your business. It's not going anywhere. You just got to work it.
Amen. One of the many things I love about the industry is the people. People are awesome here. What it really comes down to is creating those genuine connections. So when it comes to dealerships, when it comes to our industry, how do we use that narrative of driven advertising effectively?
So if you're talking about consistency, well, here's the word's consistency. Okay. Again, everybody wants, then it goes with the fantasy advertising. Mm-hmm. Everybody, you need uniformity. Again, we talk about that word attribution got beat to death, but if you really look at what it goes back to what I told you. I woke up, I looked on my phone, I went over to the website, then I went to Amazon, I bought it. But imagine if that product had a different look and feel or a different message and it just didn't make sense, then you would have to be turning around saying to yourself, well, what is it, that I'm doing wrong here? Consistency, consistency, consistency. Have your message, have sequels to your message. Have good, if you're doing commercials, have something that people can connect the dots and they look forward to seeing the next time. What can Brown do for you? We all know that that's UPS, okay? 15 minutes or more is Geico. Geico's brilliant because they were able to run multiple campaigns with a caveman, with a gecko and all these things, and people still knew who they were. Because at the end of the day, the message was clear. Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's my favorite. Yeah.
That's right. Mike.
Hope day. Yeah, exactly. So,
but like things like that. If you go back, I was talking to a friend about this. I go, when was the before? I mean, has it been 10 years? Like insurance companies didn't have these really cool commercials, and all of a sudden they get these whole. It was like the Budweisers and the beers, which they still have great commercials. But all of a sudden, insurance companies, which insurance, I'm sorry, it's not sexy, but yet their commercials are hilarious, and I love them. Right. I'm like, whether it's Flow, whether it's Mayhem, whether it's, it doesn't matter who it is. Like you automatically relate to that. And know, even if you, like you said, if you've got 10 different campaigns going, you still know that that's whatever insurance company it is.
But you just nailed it. We put so much into the digital aspect, the leads, the clicks. We forget about the awareness. Do people even know who you are? Do they know? How many times does a dealer tell me, somebody came into my dealership and they said they've been living here for 10 years and they didn't even know we were here, that we existed? Well, have you had an awareness campaign? Television matters. Linear TV, OTT, all of this stuff. Don't just dismiss it. It has to be part of your portfolio of marketing, your diversified portfolio. You can't just be in one sector and be top heavy in Google or top heavy in social. It's got to be a connect the dots, and people need to know your message. They're still human.
Amen. So. And that's also, don't look at that. I know we said this before, but it bears worth repeating. If you're taking that social campaign and thinking, did it sell a car? Social is a branding campaign. That is your awareness campaign to get people to know who you are. So stop yelling at your social media manager or your digital team because that campaign for $500 that you spent didn't do crap for you. It didn't sell a car. Well, do you really know it didn't sell a car? Like how are you even remotely looking at that? That stuff drives me crazy because that is not the reason behind it. Yet if you get someone that obviously people love TikTok, I'm too old for TikTok. I can't figure it out. But old people that do, I mean, they're getting millions of views. They're like, oh, I didn't sell a car. You got 1 million people to look at that. I'm sorry. Why is that not good enough for you? Or even if it's on a social, if it's on Facebook, whatever, but understand the difference between a marketing campaign that is meant to go a service campaign, a sales campaign, or is it a branding campaign, and really looking and distinguishing between the two of them. That one gets me a little.
And that's why big companies hire influencers, but they hire influencers not with 20 friends or 200 friends. They hire with 1 million, 2 million, because they know they're going to influence somebody in there. So why do we try and reinvent the wheel?
You got me on that one. If you figure it out, let me know. How about that? We'll do part 17 at this point of that.
I know this is getting edited big time.
Sorry, editing team. Good luck with this one.
I know, right? Exactly.
All right. Well, we are at that point of the show, Paul. Or we're jumping into lightning round with Paul Crisci. So for those that are watching, you've got his QR code right down here. But for those that are listening to podcast land, how can they get in touch with you? How can they find you?
You can go to pgsmarketing.com or go to our social media page and listen, I'm easy to find. I even give out my number, 203-278-1999. That's my cell phone number. Call me anytime. We do a lot of free evaluations. I've learned a long time ago. I don't think I've ever, as an advertising agency, had to advertise my own marketing company. It's all through networking and people that find us. And we'll sit down, we'll give you a free evaluation. There has been times I've turned away clients and said, listen, your guys are not doing anything wrong. You need to kind of take a look. I have no problem with it. We do well. I think if anybody does their job the right way and they're honest, at the end of the day, it'll all pan out. So anybody needs some free advice, give me a call. I have no problem with it.
I love that. I'm the same way. I'm like, it's all referral. It's all organic. And that, To me, when someone can refer you, that speaks volumes. Like that right there is
Yeah.
the opinion when someone's like, hey, go talk to so-and-so because they do a really good job.
Hmm.
So name of the show, it's called Facts Not Feelings. So how are you distinguishing facts from feelings in either personal life or it can be in professional life?
Ooh, all right. Wow, you threw me on that one.
Whoa, goodness.
Facts from fiction. It's a good question. I guess I think at times you have to. I think it's more along the lines of absolutes and negotiables. I think you really have to take a step back. Everything needs to be from 10,000 feet. So, because in a world where, what's that Verizon commercial? Yeah, this
Yeah.
is my new boyfriend. He's a French model. And the guy comes over and he's like, clearly not French. And he's like, bonjour. I think that we've been so inundated with so much that it's hard to find the facts. You got to be able to look at what your absolutes are in life and what you're doing, and then the negotiables, and decipher that. Like, I know I have to get up early every day. I still believe in if you're on time, you're late. You have to have a certain set of rules and structure. And then there are things that are negotiating that sometimes you have to, whether it's with your employees, with your clients or whatever, you got to be flexible. Sometimes, all right, so maybe you are right, but they are too. So it's okay. So I think fact from fiction, I think at the end of the day, really beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And you just kind of need to be able to decipher what is an absolute and what's a negotiable.
I like that answer very much so. Okay. So let's say that you're able to have this awesome superpower. It can be any superhuman power. What is it going to be?
It's not that I want to read the future, but I would tell you that I'd like to, I believe that I'm usually 6 steps ahead. I think one of the things I wrestle with the most is sometimes I know I'm right. And, there's a saying at Park Group Solutions and with my kids, when Paul's right, it means something went wrong. I may be on the borderline of the doomsday guy, but I want to be wrong most of the time. So I mean, if I could have a little bit more insight to the future and be able to help people quicker, that's my superpower. I don't want to predict lotto, although everybody would want to. I want to be able to get it right for the clients. I guess I'm a people pleaser by nature, and that superpower would be very helpful.
Okay. I like that. I don't know if I've had that one. We get a lot of, similar ones, but that's the first time someone has said, predictive. I like that one very much so. Okay. Let's round it out with, the joys of, there's got to be something that most people don't know about you. And I always love asking this question because I can know someone for 11 years and I asked this question and all of a sudden I was like, holy, I had no idea that that this existed. So what is one thing that the audience may not know about you?
Oh, well, I said I was a people pleaser, but anybody that knows me knows that. I love to write. I'm a faith-based person. I do wrestle. Like many business owners, I wrestle a lot of time with, how do you call it? Basically, I'm the guy that's up at 3 a.m. thinking about things. But if anybody asks, I sound like I got a big bite. I'm very confident, and I will never apologize for that. But I'm a softie. At the end of the day, I'm gonna compromise with people. So, and I don't think everybody sees that through the personality end. So,
It's amazing how Dan Moore and I are actually talking about this. How many people are in their industry that your perception of them is X. And then when you actually get to know them, you're like, you are nothing at all what I thought. Whether it's, hey, I thought this person was almost like a dick. And then you get to know them like, oh, no, this person's really cool. Or to your point, I had a big bite, but really I'm just a big teddy bear. Like, I know. So
yeah,
it is very
yeah.
interesting. Like before you go and cast judgment on another person, understand there's probably more to the story than what you're probably giving them credit for.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to give away my secrets, but I tear down the relationship and then build it back up again. If anyone can put up with me for the first hour, a vendor, like vendors think like I'm out to get them. I'm like, no, I just need you to prove to me that you are not wrong, because at the end of the day, believe it or not, I'm here to get it right for the client. And if I'm going to bring you into my circle, but once you're in, then I'm almost by default, I keep you around too long.
You can't get rid of me, man.
You can't get rid of me now.
Every time I'm around, I lose my voice. Yeah. So come on. I mean, we're talking so much.
I am a loyal dog once we earn each other's respect. So
I am this exact same way. Like, and there's to say I take a bullet is probably putting it lightly what I do for those that are in my circle. Like while I know a lot of acquaintances, that circle is very tight of the people that I would do anything for those people. So I hear you in that one.
Yeah, Dan knows that. Dan knows me really well.
And thank you, Dan.
Probably
It
too
wasn't
well.
yeah, that's another person that would take a bullet for his friends. So
Yeah, exactly.
he is good people.
Yes.
Very good
Yeah.
people. Paul, thank you so much for being on the show. I so appreciate this conversation. And I am totally down if we make this a series, because we might need to make this into another series. So
No one is listening through this whole thing. They're going to be like, this guy never shuts up.
oh my gosh, he just rambles forever. What the hell?
Yeah. But listen, it's more of a therapy session. Thank you for the therapy. Send me the bill. I'll pay you for my opportunity to speak.
You gotta switch it around. Like we do our therapy for our clients. I do therapy for you. It's all good. It's a full circle
There
moment
you
here.
go. Definitely.
I love it. All right, everyone, you know the drill at this point. Find a way to serve today, whether that is opening a car door, whether that's just a kind smile. Do something today that's going to make someone's life just a little bit better and bring a little bit joy to them. And with that, everyone, we'll see everybody next week.